I'm Sandy Topple. This is a lesson that is done in Spanish, but right now I'll try to remember to say everything in English in case there's someone on the team who is not Spanish dominant. So here we go. So good morning, everyone. I understand that you've been asking about our bulletin board that's outside. You think it's time to change it. So I don't know. The only time we change it is when we learn something new. So let's take a look. If you remember at the beginning of kindergarten, we had a sign that said, "Welcome to kindergarten," and everybody had a fish with their name on it. What did we do with those fish? That's right. You brought them in and you decorated them. Did everybody's fish get decorated the same? No, they were different. How were they different? Yoseli, how was your fish different? Okay, so your pieces of yarn were really long. Okay. Kayla, how was yours different? Okay, so it was the same in that everybody had a fish, but they were different in how they were decorated. And then we put the fish back up. So let's take a look. You know that what we have out there is it says, "Can we learn to swim together as a team?" So this is what's outside right now. But in order for us to change the board, we need to show that we've learned something new. So let's review our 3 vocabulary words right now that we're working on. We have same, we have different, and we've been using these when we do our sounds. We've been putting them to the side and we're pointing. Is the sound the same? Is it different? But there's a third word we've been working on. Do you remember what that word is? Can you remember? I'll give you a hint. Together. Very good. So we're doing same, different, and together. Okay, and if you remember on Monday, we read the story of the 3 billy goats gruff. Yeah, it was an awesome story, wasn't it? And then we read another version of the same story, but it was written by a different author. Now, even though the stories were mostly the same, they were also different. Very good. And if you remember, we did a Venn diagram, and we talked about all the ways in which the story was the same and how the 2 stories were different. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do right now with your partner in your pairs, I want you to take a moment and remind yourself and remind your partner, how were the 2 stories the same and how were they different? Go. 3, 2, 1, back up front. Okay, when I call your name, either you can answer or you can ask your partner to answer. So my first question is, how were the 2 stories the same? Jonathan. Yes, they both had goats. Now I have a question. How many goats were in each story? Did one have 4 and one had 2? Oh no, they both had 3? Okay, so they were the same. Very good. Now my next question is I want someone to answer, how are the 2 stories different from each other? Adan. Yes, okay, so I hear you saying same and different. So they were the same in that the man told them, "Go away." But I hear you also saying the stories were different because in how he said go away was different. So in one of the stories, how did the man say go away? Oh, he said, "Get out of here." But now in the other story, how did he say go away? Yeah, he said, "Go on, go on, go on." So it's the same in that the man told them to go away, but how he said it was different. Very good. So here we're talking about same and different with the 2 stories, and we did our Venn diagram. Do you remember the fancy words for when we're doing same and different? The fancy words for when we're trying to find how it's same and different? I'm going to give you a hint. Compare. Very good. What's the other one? Contrast. Very good. Compare and contrast. Now I have a question. When we finished comparing and contrasting the 2 stories, we compared and contrast something else in this classroom. What did we do? Was it the lights, the desks? What did? 2 students. Who did we do? Oscar and Samantha. We compared and contrasted Oscar and Samantha to find out how they're the same and how they're different. Now, are Oscar and Samantha different? Of course, but are they also the same in some ways? Yes, and if you remember, we did our Venn diagram of Oscar and Samantha, and you did your own, and on yours, you drew pictures. One of the ways they were the same is they were both wearing a red shirt, and you drew that. But one of the ways in which they were different was, I believe Samantha had white socks on, which you drew pictures of, and Oscar had black socks on, and you drew pictures. Okay, so we compared and contrasted Samantha and Oscar to find out how they're the same and how they're different. What did we do when we finished that? That's right. You and your partner together did a comparison and contrasting the two of you, how you're the same and how you're different. Okay, so now you say that it's time to change our board. On our board, if you remember, we have our objectives listed with the vocabulary words. So let's take a look. So our objectives that we're going to need to be working on is teamwork, problem solving, and compare and contrast. Have we done compare and contrast? Yes, we have. Here's our vocabulary words, same, different, together. We're doing that. But if you remember, on our board, it also has some questions that we're supposed to answer. So let's take a look at the questions, because we can't change our board until we've answered our questions. So the questions that are up on our board, there's 3. It says, how are we alike? Have we been working on that? Yes. It also says, how are we different? Have we worked on that? Well, then it sounds like it's time to change the board. Except I noticed there's a 3rd question. It says, how can we work together as a team to accomplish our goals? So we need to answer that question and figure it out so that we can change this board. You want to do that today? Awesome. So in order to help us do that, we're going to read a book by Leo Leone called Swimming. Now, if you remember, we read a book by Leo Leone last week. What was that book called? Do you remember? That's right. So now we have the same author, but it's a different book. So in this book, this is Swimming. There he is. He's got a problem, and we're going to find out what his problem is and how he solves it. But before we do that, there's 2 words that we need to know about. The first word you already know, or you think you know. The word is school. You know what a school is, right? But in this book, it's a different type of school. It's a school of fish. A school of fish is a group of fish swimming together. So get your hand out, make yourself a fish, make them swim. Swim, 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 swim. Now get your other hand, put them together. Now they're swimming together. Swim, 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 swim. Now with your partner, put your 2 fish with your partner's 2 fish. Have them swim. How many do you have now? Very good. That's a school of fish. They're swimming together. So that's the word, school. The second word is kind of a funny sounding word. I want you to repeat after me. Gulp. Gulp. Now to help us figure out what this word means, I'm going to ask you a question. When you're really, really hungry, super hungry, and you see some pizza that's really, really good, do you take a slice of pizza when you're really hungry and take teeny tiny little bites? No. What do you do with it? You gulp it down and then you swallow it. Take your hand on your throat. Take that slice of pizza. Now gulp it. Chew it up. Now swallow it. Did you feel it go down? That's gulp. And that's what we're going to read about in our story. So now let's take a look at the story. Here's Swimmy. Let's find out what his problem is and how he solves it. Swimmy by Leo Leone. A happy school of little fish lived in a corner of the sea somewhere. They were all red. Only one of them was as black as a mussel shell. He swam faster than his brothers and sisters. His name was Swimmy. So which one is Swimmy? How can you tell? Okay. Now, is he the same as his brothers and sisters? Okay, how is he different? But now in some ways he is the same. How is he the same? That's right, he is a fish and he's swimming with the school. Very good. Oh, I scared myself. Oh, did you see what was next? Oh my goodness. Okay, let's get ready. You ready? One bad day, a tuna fish, swift, fierce, and very hungry, came darting through the waves. In one gulp, he swallowed all the little red fish. Only Swimmy survived. Oh, how do you think Swimmy feels? Tell your partner. 3, 2, 1, back up. He swam away in the deep, wet world. He was scared. Did any of you say he was scared? He might be scared? Okay. He was lonely. Kayla, you thought of that one? And he was very sad. Now, where's the school of fish? What happened to them? I think I would be sad too. But the sea was full of wonderful creatures, and as he swam from marvel to marvel, Swimmy was happy again. he saw a Medusa made of rainbow jelly. I like the rainbow colors, it's pretty. A lobster who walked about like a water moving machine. We're going to skip forward. And sea anemones who looked like pink palm trees swaying in the wind. You know what swaying is? Remember the palm tree in the back of my backyard that I showed you? Okay, put your hands up. These are your palms. When the wind blows a little bit, it sways. It sways. Now, when the wind blows a lot, it sways a lot. And when it blows just a little bit, that's swaying. Okay? So even though he's sad, he's also happy because he's seeing a lot of really interesting things. Then, hidden in the dark shade of rocks and weeds, he saw a school of little fish just like his own. Let's go and swim and play and see things, he said happily. We can't, said the little red fish. The big fish will eat us all. But you can't just lie there, said Swimmy. We must think of something. Swimmy thought and thought and thought. Then suddenly he said, I have it. We are going to swim all together like the biggest fish in the sea. He taught them to swim close together, each in his own place. What does that look like to you? Okay, well, if that's true, what do you think is going to be over here? Okay, let's find out. And when they had learned to swim like one giant fish, he said, I'll be the eye. Do you think he makes a good eye? Why? Now, wait a minute. Isn't it true that we're supposed to take turns? Don't you think maybe he should come over here for a little while and let another red fish take a turn? Well, why not? Oh, okay. Okay. Now, I have a question. Do you think his idea will work? Do you think it'll scare the fish away? I want you to tell your partner, I think Swimmy's idea will work because, or if you don't think it's going to work, say, I don't think Swimmy's idea will work because. Go ahead. 2, 1. Back up front. And so they swam in the cool morning water and in the midday sun and chased the big fish away. So did it work? Awesome. And that's the end of the story. But I have a question. So they worked together as a team and they scared the fish away, but what about tomorrow? Do you think they'll work together again tomorrow? Well, what about the next day? Well, what might happen if one of them said, you know, I'm tired. I don't want to work together anymore as a team. Okay, well, what about us? What happens when we work together as a team? Well, what happens when we don't work together as a team? Okay, well, I have a surprise for you. While we were reading this story, you know what our board looks like outside. Mrs. Mendoza, she was outside. And you know what she did? While we were reading this story, she moved our fish. Would you like to see how she moved our fish? So at this point, the students go outside and they take a look, and the board has been changed. And so it takes them a little while, but they read it and it says, we are different, but we swim together. And then they have an opportunity back in the classroom to write and draw what it looks like to swim together, to work together as a team. They can either choose to write about swimming and how they work together or how we work together in the classroom. And then that writing goes outside on the wall. Thank you very much.